Good now, Bruce?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Oh, great. We had just moved on to our first action item, Commissioner Morton, which was to approve the April 19th minutes.
Excuse me, Jennifer, Janice is wanting it.
Oh, great. Welcome, Commissioner Huxford. She's loading.
There she is.
Welcome, Commissioner Huxford.
I would like to explain why I'm not there, but I think you can understand why.
Oh, I can hear it in your voice. We were just about to approve the April 19th minutes, so I wanted to give an opportunity for any changes or edits before we entertain a motion to approve them. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
The minutes of April 19th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did we, I don't think we heard from Commissioner Morton. He's there.
Sorry, aye.
Oh, great. All right. We're moving on to our discussion items, the first of which is the code cleanup. And we have Nico, is it Foz?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Hi, everyone. As I was introduced, I'm Nico Foz, Assistant Planner with the City of Lake Stevens. We are giving an update to Planning Commission on our code cleanup. Continuing this from last year. This is an item identified on the 2023 long range work program. And it's a very it's like a high level just staff has identified a few challenges in the code, either identified internally or whenever trying to administer it, any sort of grammar, broken links, things that kind of hold us back from administering the code and it having it clear and understandable to our citizens. So that's kind of the what. We're at I believe through the document 27 amendments right now, but this matrix is flexible. This is exhibit attachment 1, table of proposed changes. So kind of what we're wanting from Planning Commission today is just looking at the scope of this. Again, we're open to accepting more amendments to the code, anything you feel is within the scope. Hammering on that scope a little bit more. So it's split into 3 phases. If you look at this first exhibit, housekeeping, update, and substantial. The housekeeping changes are identified as changes which don't alter the code's intent. They focus on, again, grammar, deletion, accuracy of references. The update changes are phase 2. They're defined as changes which don't alter the code's intent unless alterations in accordance with the previous administrative determination or any sort of outside agency policy change. The last phase, phase 3, is the substantial. These are changes which may alter the intent of the code, but do so following the vision, again, of harping on that clarification, improvement, and maximization of code. Proposed amendments will be subject to public process at future Planning Commission and City Council meetings. Again, these are staff reviewed. Lists might grow longer. Going over a quick little timeline. So this will be taken. Phase 1 and phase 2 will be brought to Planning Commission at the same time later this summer. Phase 3 will be brought separately, and then full phases will be presented to City Council after that. Public hearings will follow after that. So basically, we're wondering if Planning Commission had any notes on the scope.
I had a question. I noted well, actually I had 2 questions. One has to do with the definition of a kitchen. So I'm very curious about that. And the second one had to do with the ADUs, providing greater flexibility within a footprint. I was just curious. And this might not be the right timing to ask about the specifics of those 2 things, but we did work on the ADU. Was it Commissioner Welch, was that like 2 years ago? Anyway, I'm just curious what sort of is propelling that change and.
Yeah. Did you want to?
Sure. So I would say with the definition of kitchen, we just want to align the municipal code definition more closely to the International Building Code
Mhm.
would be sort of the issue there. And accessory dwelling units, there are some changes in the state law, sort of coming out of that session. So we just want to do an audit of the section that deals with the size. That's been some of the recent changes, going from, I think our code has 800 square feet up to 1,000 square feet. So probably just some modest changes in the dimensional standards.
Okay, sounds good.
Are most of the changes gonna, like say with the legislature just finishing up, are the changes gonna align with whatever just came out, or is it gonna take that long to get everything figured out, or?
Some of the changes, yes, we will, if they're easy implementation pieces. For example, the House Bill 1110, I'm still waiting for clarification from the Department of Commerce. There is a clause in that would allow a city to petition the state to say our regulations meet the intent of the new state change. That's what I will intend to do for Lake Stevens Code, because we spent, a good chunk of time refining our standards and we're a little ahead of the curve. So a code like that, yeah, I would want to go through that process first. And if we are denied, then we would go back through and make the necessary modifications. But for example, with the ADU, with any changes that are effective there, those would probably be of a smaller scale for us to implement. So sort of mix and match.
Okay.
And then I will add a couple of things that aren't on this list. We had a conversation with the city council last night. They had some interest in looking at the temporary non-commercial sign code. And you'll also recall that that's something we tackled a couple of years ago. And there are just a couple of small changes within that they would like us to take a look at. And rather than launching a whole new program for that, if we keep the scale sort of tight and just to the couple of items that they talked about, that would sort of be additive to this work program and probably fall under the phase 3, because they're not clarifications. They would be new code, but it's not going to change the overall substance of that code. And then after we worked on the lot status code amendment a year ago, our city attorney has recommended a couple of changes to that code for greater clarification after we've used that and implemented that. That's also not on the list, but that would probably show up in phase 2.
Okay. I remember the sign code work that we did was kind of pursuant to Supreme Court First Amendment case. Is this new work going to be more refining what's already there? And there's not been any recent precedent in that area, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The changes that the city council would like specifically to look at is there's a separation clause in there between these non-commercial signs. And they would like to add some clarifying language that their intent when they had this separation clause, that they really only see that applying to long straight runs, say Lundin Park, on both sides of the highway, where there's always been a lot of sign clutter, as well as that presents a maintenance problem when we go in there and try and mow those shoulders. So they wanted us to take a look at that versus if signs were grouped up, say, on the far side of South Lake Stevens and Machias against a rock wall, that's not creating a sight distance issue or a maintenance issue. So they just want us to maybe refine that code and look at where can it be applied a little bit differently. And so that would be an example of what they wanted to see. They asked a few other questions that we'll vet before adding to this list, but that was the largest change they're asking for.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Huxford?
Couple quick questions, and you asked my main two, so thank you so much, Commissioner Davis. A question for staff. I'm assuming that in bringing these up, anything with an ADU or anything else in this third bracket, this isn't going to stop anybody in the process of what they're doing currently, correct?
No, this would not affect any permits that are in the works right now.
Okay. And when we go to review all of this, will we have access to anybody that might be in that process?
I don't,
ADU specifically, because it seemed like a big topic when we discussed it. Obviously, we've had bigger topics since then, but it seemed like a big topic at the time. And then I haven't heard that it's been a big topic when it comes to permitting since then. Maybe I'm just not hearing.
it's not a big topic. We get one or two a year. It's not
Okay.
scale of our work.
So our discussion shouldn't ignite something that's going to backlash like we've seen in recent conversations.
I wouldn't, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this? No, okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so we'll move on to Planner Needham and a discussion of canvassers, peddlers, and solicitors code revisions.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Let me speak into the mic here. I talk like a mouse. Okay, there we go. So today we are introducing a draft of the solicitor license code. This would revise Title IV of the Lake Stevens Municipal Code, and its purpose is really to simplify and streamline the background check process and the application process for solicitors licenses. So this section regulates canvassers, peddlers, solicitors, and they may go from place to place or house to house, selling goods, soliciting services, gathering opinions for surveys, all for commercial purposes. It is important to note, though, that this section does not regulate First Amendment speech. So under our current code, both a business license and a separate solicitor's license is required for these folks. The solicitor's license application, it starts in the planning department with Jenny, and then eventually they do need to get fingerprinted at the police department for the purpose of a background check. So in order to conduct a nationwide background check, the Washington State Patrol requires jurisdictions to adopt some specific language that is specifically codified in our code that describes that process. So I did add a brand new section to the draft, Title IV, Section 04, subsection 230, and that uses this language so it can be referenced in the revised solicitor code section. So as part of my revisions, I did look at the solicitor licenses code for several cities that were recommended by our city attorney. These cities are Bellingham, Seattle, SeaTac, and then Normandy Park. So to be consistent with those other cities, I did add some subsections and restructured this section in general just for clarity. I also revised the definition of solicitor/peddler to really differentiate that use from, delivery people that might deliver groceries, takeout, Uber Eats, grocery delivery, that kind of thing. And then in attachment 1, it shows the new proposed code, and then attachment 2 shows the existing code for contrast. And since this is a code amendment that doesn't modify Chapter 14 of the Title 14 of the Municipal Code, we aren't required to hold a public hearing with the Planning Commission. So this will be an informational briefing only. But as always, we do welcome your comments and questions before it goes to public hearing at the council.
Commissioners, do we have any comments or clarifications?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense.
How about our commissioners attending online? Do you have anything that you'd like to add or ask?
I reviewed it and it looks good to me.
I had one quick question, and it has to do with the code section 4.04.040, which is the list of exempt activities.
Mhm.
And I was just curious, I may not be seeing them in what you provided, but I was curious what the exempt activities include.
So that's a code section that we didn't actually touch. So it just references the exemptions from a business license. So if you don't need a business license, you don't need a solicitor's license either.
Oh, okay.
But broad groups would be nonprofit groups, charitable institutions, churches that are not doing soliciting or canvassing for commercial
Got it. Okay.
purpose becomes the distinction.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
On the rendering fitness determination, I know it's kind of vague.
Is this the new section?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a crime which bears upon his or her ability or fitness to serve that's kind of what is that?
I don't disagree with you. This language, it comes from ultimately the FBI from one of their public laws.
Gotcha.
And, federal language oftentimes is kind of clunky in nature. This is a section that would be primarily determined by the police department.
I notice we don't have I see we have a felony or misdemeanor involving controlled substance. So is that, are we saying somebody who was caught in a misdemeanor back when they're 19 years old are exempt forever from ever being a canvasser in their lives? Is that what we're saying? That's number subsection 2 of that same one. Seems kind of, but we don't mention anything about convictions of theft or anything, which I would think would be something pretty heavily I would want if someone's canvassing houses. Like theft would be a major thing for me, like that'd be like a deal breaker, but
Mhm.
something like controlled substance. Our laws have changed quite drastically over the years. Are we saying forever? I mean, I'm 53. I'm saying if I had gotten convicted of something back when I was 18 or 19 years old, am I still unable to canvass? I'm not.
Let us check with Washington State Patrol
Okay.
on that. This is
I
the
just want to be
language.
kind of vague when it comes
Yeah,
to
yeah,
what we're talking about.
appreciate that.
It seems what we're taking from looking at this. Some pretty minor stuff, especially we saw about misdemeanors, but we're excluding some pretty
Big things.
things that are kind of important and like breaking and entering or car prowling, things like that are, I think, what people are worried about. And I know my HOA just got nailed last night, with several prowls last night, for example. So I think that's probably more important than some of these other ones, or maybe some more. I think some clarity would be here because, I mean, I'm not the lawyer in the room, but it seems kind of vague. I mean, I know it's from the FBI, but it just kind of especially some of these canvassers, some of them are young, usually they're low level jobs, so it's just be kind of interesting to get a little more clarity on some of this.
Okay, well, let us reach out to the Washington State Patrol, probably, I think C and D use the language, the rendering of fitness determination, and we can work with our police. And before we move that on to the city council, we will take that up and see if there's better language to insert.
I'm sorry if I didn't read all. Is there a process if they don't agree with the determination? Like if their canvasser or solicitor is determined not to be eligible, is there a process for them to get re-reviewed or a higher authority or something? This is a possibility.
Yeah, so there's an appeal process that is mentioned in the code. It's the same as the business license appeal process.
I didn't remember if that was in there now off the top of my head. Appreciate that. But I'm glad we're reviewing this, but I think we're getting a lot more, with the amount of new developments and stuff, we're gonna get a lot more door-to-door solicitors. I think we have a good solid code nowadays.
And really, the reason we're bringing this forward is with changes to state and federal law, we couldn't do the background checks as we have done them in the past. So for the last couple of cycles, we've had to sort of cobble together a process to approve these peddlers. So we wanted to, get this moving forward. So we're following the state and federal protocols for fingerprinting and doing background checks.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. And then that's all I had to ask.
Oh, Commissioner Huxford.
a brief question. Is it the same when it comes to Lake Stevens proper versus UGA versus unincorporated Snohomish County?
So these regulations would only impact Lake Stevens city limits. Does that answer your question?
It does. I'm wondering if we could be with annexations in the future. I'm wondering if we could be proactive and put something in the wording that as annexations continue, that they be adopted in without going through the process again.
We can certainly look at that. See what the license transfer would allow.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from commissioners on this? Seeing none, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This might be a good time for us to excuse Commissioners Connor Davis and Mike Dewar.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is going to be the world record fastest meeting. Right?
Welcome him.
Oh. I did at the beginning. Did you hear me? Oh, but I can welcome him again. Welcome, council member.
Sorry.
No, thank you for always remind me if you think I may have not done something. I guess we're at commissioner reports. So let's start with Commissioner Holt.
I just wanted to have our next meeting. Are we having it on May 17th?
Yes.
Okay, I will not be here. Because it's Norwegian Independence Day. I'll be in Ballard. With my Norwegian punad.
It's lutefisk for us.
I'm not gonna eat lutefisk. I don't like that. But I'll. No, but I'll be down in Ballard, wearing my Norwegian bunad. That was actually my grandmother's. And it's like from 1924. And I've got all that stuff. So I'll be down there. And our next meeting after that, then in June, will be on the Mondays, right?
Correct.
So like potentially June 5th, June 19th, July 17th, August 7th, and August 21st. Okay, but you'll give us a.
Yeah,
heads
by
up.
the next meeting, I hope to bring a complete summer schedule for both planning commission and city council for the next at least 3 months out.
And I'm assuming we'll still be meeting in here because we
Yes.
just can't do Wednesday because of the
The market.
market. Okay. All right, that was it.
Thank you. Commissioner Welch,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Morton,
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Huxford,
Nothing.
nothing from me, although I hope you feel better, Commissioner Huxford.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Soon.
Appreciate it. Vacation was great.
So
Good,
wait a minute, how was Mexico?
good,
It
good,
was
good.
Okay.
We'll move on to the planning director's report.
I didn't have a report tonight, but I'm open for any questions if there are any from the commission.
Do we have anything for the planning director? This truly is a world record. In that case, we will, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.